I think one of the mistakes a lot of people in our sphere make is thinking that truth is up there. We can reach up for it, bring it back down, and bring about revelation in the real world. Since all of you guys are radical individualists and wants to reject the absolute insanity of modern times, we need something that grounds us in our reality. But as I think about this more and more and get introduced to postmodern thinkers such as Nietzsche and the oh-so-controversial Foucault, I can't help but think that there is always a form of power around us. The idea is, if you're not a religious person, if you do not believe in any kind of revealed truth, then that means that truth in itself is not something that exists as this one core thing, but rather there's like a genealogy of it, that it forms over time with the ideas of many different thinkers and eventually shapes the society it finds itself in. Foucault talks about this thing called the panopticon, and a panopticon, if I'm getting it right, is a prison with a guard tower in the center that has guards who are able to survey all of the prisoners around them, while the prisoners themselves don't actually know when they are being watched. And the idea that you are being watched but you don't know when creates a paranoia and disciplines the prisoners from doing any suspicious or demonstrating any heinous behaviors, if you could, in a prison. And that the same idea with power is there are these ideas in the air that we have just slowly swallowed and absorbed over the course of our lives, which we do not question, but do, in some sense, govern how we speak, govern how we act, and I guess orient ourselves in the world. And when I thought about this for the first time back in like 2017, I would think, what? There's no such... People are saying that there's no such thing as truth? That's ridiculous. And no, it's not that there's no such thing as truth. It's that the idea of it is completely contextual to the time that we are living in. And every instance of a person rejecting a greater institution and moving to a different ideology is not necessarily that they have found themselves closer to truth, but that they have constructed a different machine to counteract the thing that they are rejecting. And so what happens, for example, with some of the rightist movement, let's take MAGA, for example. I wouldn't call myself MAGA to save my life, but there is this new mythos that is developing in response to the leftism of like deconstruction. We have completely torn apart all of the institutions of the West that we've built for the past 400 years, 500 years, where, for example, two genders, that's just a social construct. There are an infinite number of genders, or that, these are all systems of oppression, and we need to break them down to create a more free society. But the irony of it is, I think Foucault, the guy who created the idea of the panopticon, wanted the individual to be more free. But what we have done, ironically, is create a different prison for us to live in. The politically correct prison, the prison of not having the ability to speak freely lest you be judged for stepping too far outside of the window that I guess this flavor of leftism has created. And so people who reject that, they go into this rightist movement and they idealize the past and think of, like I said, a new mythos to operate in, where Christianity and these ideas are absolute truth and our antidote to the chaos of today. Whereas in a Foucaultian sense, this would simply be moving from one prison to another, and the power that governs that worldview disciplines you in a certain sense. And what I think what happened to me, for example, is I thought that I was understanding revealed truth after being rejected by the hyper PC types, and I found the rightists, and they were like, yeah, come over here, man. And there was this idealized past, this like ethno-nationalism and idea that you need to be loyal to the state in order to preserve your ancestry. And I never truly jived with that like some of the people around me did. There was like an excitement in me where I was thinking, oh, this is the perfect rejection to the PC types who don't believe in anything, and these people do believe in something. But what I'm finding is, again, these ideas eventually start to dictate how you think. They create a context for you to operate in, and if you get too deep into the context, then you don't know how to break out of it when you lose your own autonomy. And the realization I think I'm making right now, and again, this is an active dialectic with all of you, is I was in one prison, I moved to a different prison, and now I'm trying to break down that prison and hopefully construct my own reality in front of me as a thinker who just wants to get the most out of this life as he can before he dies. It's like very much like horizontal thinking, whereas like more mystic or religious thinkers might think that the soul needs to transcend this reality, and that we are in a constant state of learnedness, like we're in a classroom, and there's those who graduate don't have to come back to the classroom, and eventually like the soul will no longer have to reincarnate itself in the material world. That's vertical philosophical thinking. I'm not really interested in transcendence. I'm more about the bruises of the soul are what really defines it with time, and the soul that frees itself completely is, at least to me, my own personal ideal. And I think that's somewhat what we're all kind of searching for, is to break free of institutional power on all sides and to sort of become these radical autonomous beings with ideas that we can use to shape the world as we see fit. Maybe this sounds absolutely insane, but for all of you who are very learned and lettered folks who've already read Foucault, already read Nietzsche, by all means, roll your eyes and move on to somebody else. But if you haven't already, yes, the idea is transcending power and ideas that control you and not allowing them to discipline you so that you can develop yourself. I'll see you guys in the next video.